Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Breakdown with Bethany. I'm Bethany Braun Silva, and I am so excited to welcome Dr. Whitney Casares back to the podcast. Dr. Whitney is back with a new book called Doing It All, and we're going to be talking about it all and so much more. I adore Dr. Whitney. I seek out her advice every chance I get. Not only is she a renowned pediatrician, but she also helps mothers with her Modern Mommy community on Instagram, LinkedIn, and of course with her new book. We're going to be diving into the book, talking about how Dr. Whitney got so personal in this book this time around. She's an author of two other books that I highly recommend. So listen to this conversation and find out about our shared mission. Check it out. Dr. Whitney, this is actually the second time. Well, it's not like I was on your podcast, you were on my podcast before. So we've obviously talked a bunch in the interim. This is the second time I'm officially having you on The Breakdown with Bethany, and it's to talk about this fantastic book. And I of course want to get into like the inception, all the why behind doing it all. But I also want you to touch on you got really personal in this book and you shared a lot. And I know that for people, I know you're a pediatrician and you help parents, you help kids, and you also do a lot of media. But so this is really a two-parter. I want to hear all about the why behind doing it all, and then your choice to get so personal, like with I mean that first, and everyone buy this book. And I'm rambling because I love it so much, and I do consider you one of my friends. But the first part of the book where you're revealing the OT and all of that, it was it really touched your nerve. So I want to hear from you, the why and then the
Yeah,
reason to get so personal.
totally. So I got personal because I feel like moms so desperately need to be seen, especially by someone who gives advice. I mean, I give advice to moms about their kids and dads about parenting every single day. And I think sometimes that advice can feel really ivory tower or unrealistic, unapproachable. And so I wanted people to see kind of the like trenches that I'm in every day as a parent as well. My oldest daughter has autism, and she's a lovely, amazing, genius level person, and also is just this well of need. And so the story I start with them in the beginning is about an occupational therapist that we were meeting with who just misread the situation and tried to give me a huge talking to about how my daughter was feeling and how I was not meeting her needs. And the story basically is about how, man, if I had been my former self like 6 years ago, I would have crumbled under the weight of that judgment instead of being able to say to myself, like, I'm doing the best I can with what I have and actually like step off. And I feel like so many moms feel that way every single day. So that's why I got really personal. I also just like, of all the things I love to do, is sit in a coffee shop and drink a boozy coffee and write and like emote. And so so that allowed me to like have some of that in there too, which is my favorite thing. And then the inspiration behind the book was kind of similar. I mean, it's the fact that in my practice, I've been a pediatrician for over a decade, like 12 years. I'm Stanford trained. I feel like I had all this book knowledge to give people, but that people really wanted to know much more of the social emotional part of parenting, and also had a lot of questions for me all the time about kind of how I managed life and kids. And so I wanted this book to be that, but as real and as raw and as realistic as humanly possible.
I love it. And so the book is called Doing It All, Stop Overfunctioning and Become the Mom and Person You're Meant to Be. And I talk a lot about this. I've written about it. I've interviewed other experts about this. Why are mothers overfunctioning so much? Why are we so burnt out? Certainly the pandemic shone a huge light on that. But really from your take, like why are we so burnt out?
Right. So I think there's two things. I think one is we are a unique generation of moms who are expected to be kind of a 1950s housewife, still look a certain way. We haven't fully made it in terms of body positivity yet. We have the Kardashians that are, still at play out in the world. And then also we're told we should be amazing career people and that we should go for it and we should lean in and be 100%, workers. And the reality is doing all of that plus plus having some semblance of self is basically impossible. And so we are caught in the middle, feeling like we're pulled a million directions. And I think really not knowing, like, when will I feel like I've done a good job? Like, when will I have made it? Do I know when I will have made it? When will I feel like, yeah, that was enough? I feel like a lot of us don't even know, don't remember what it feels like to feel good. A lot of us don't know, like, what's the end point for us. And so this book tried to kind of dig into that. And I think that's a huge problem for us. The second piece is, in America, we really are on our own as parents. I mean, I love the cowboy spirit of America, and like everyone, like, entrepreneur, and anyone can make it and you can have the American dream. But with that comes this real sense of individuality and individual responsibility. And so it's not society's collective to take care of us as moms or as parents. It's our own responsibility. So there was just an article in the Atlantic a couple weeks ago that talked about, like, in America's, or in the world's richest nation, it's all your problem if you are a parent. And I think that speaks brilliantly to what parents are feeling these days, of like, it's on you if you want to have some paid leave. It's on you if you need to figure out your schedule and flexibility. That's not on us. We don't have to take care of that as a society or as a corporation.
Yeah, and one of the things that I love in this book is not only, of course, all your amazing advice and all the practical tips, and it's so digestible, is that you also create like sort of like a workbook for us moms, like as we're reading, to kind of do this in real time as we're reading, to like incorporate all of these things. And one of the things that you talk about is like creating your vision. This is not exactly what you talk about, but I'm really a visual person. I create a vision board every year and then I reevaluate every month. So you take us through all of that, and you even talk a little bit about, you touch on manifesting a little bit. And so I wanted to hear from your take without giving too much away, because I do think everyone needs to go and buy this book. But talk to us a little bit about, creating the vision and all the different pillars that you have in the book for us to fill out.
Yeah. So again, if we have no idea what would make us feel good or where we want to be, we have to kind of figure out first what that looks like before we start to define for ourselves, like, okay, I feel stuck. I feel pulled in a million directions. That's bad. But what would be good for me? What would actually make me feel like I was aligned and feel like I'm purposeful? And so the way I do that in the book really is akin to a vision board, or part of what you would do with manifesting, which is thinking about, like, in a world where things are aligned with your values, where you are doing the things that give you a ton of pleasure and feel like you have a ton of purpose, what would that look like? The difference between manifesting and what I'm doing is, I really want it to be for moms that it's grounded in the life that they're still living. I have an autistic kid. That's never going to change. So if I was to manifest, like, I will sit on the beach all day long by myself, or like I will have a, like, New York Times bestseller book. Well, that's not 100% up to me. I can't decide those things because my kids might get sick and then I can't go to my beach vacation for 2 days that I planned. Or maybe there's some other amazing author that comes along that's going to be the New York Times bestseller this year. I can, however, decide, yep, travel, enjoying other places, enjoying new experiences. That is something that is, like, very, very important to me. And so I'm going to spend my time and my energy on that. I can decide the thing that's important to me is communicating in written form and speaking to moms and contributing to them. So that I can put on my vision board, or what I call my centered vision, as like, yes, this is a place where I really want to devote my time, my energy, my focus. So I think it roots it more in reality and makes it so that people are much more likely to achieve those things in their life. And then we start kind of with a visual thing, because I know some people are visual, and then break it down into, what are the 5 things that if you were 80 years old looking back on your life, where you would want to have said, like, yes, I did this. This was me. And it's different for everybody. Some people, when I talk to them, they're like, "Ooh, I don't even need the exercise. I can tell you right now what they are. It's my kids, it's my health, it's my finances, it's blah, 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 blah." Some people are like, I am so lost as a mom that when I have 5 minutes to myself, and it's not about work, or it's not about my kids or taking care of anybody else, I don't even know what to do with myself. I don't know what store I would go to. I don't know what
Yeah.
book I would read. I don't know music. Like, I don't know who I am anymore. And so I'm trying to help those people in the beginning. And then the rest of the book is really a lot about strategies for how to create more time, be more efficient, give more stuff to other people so you can actually do those things you want to do.
And that is actually my next question. I mean, you got a glowing review on the cover here from Eve Brodsky, who is a huge, I mean, like I say she's like a hero of mine because she's just helped me like communicate, right? Like she's saying the
Yeah.
things that I'm thinking. And one of the
Yes.
things that you talk, I have it marked here. This is my favorite part of your book. And it's not about us delegating to your partner. You talk about
Mm-hmm.
delegating to your kids. And that is something I have been a huge advocate of for years. And you even go as young as like 2 to 3 years old. These are the things your kids can be doing. Everybody lives in this home. Everybody's going to contribute. So talk to me about, so tell me, like, what do you tell to a mom in particular who has never even thought about that, who's like, I'm taking it all on and now I'm overwhelmed, so I'm going to approach my spouse or my partner or my co-parent, but there are other people living in this house, little people that can help too. So talk to me about that.
Well, pediatrician hat on, right? There's two places in this book that I had to put my pediatrician hat on. One was in this chapter where I talked about getting kids involved. And then the other is there's an entire chapter about what are the most important things you need to remember when you're parenting your kids, no matter what kind of kid you have. So in this chapter, yes, I really want to go beyond just our partners for a couple reasons. One, I think even though I absolutely adore Erodsky too, she's amazing and I love her book. I think for most women, it's like an ideal that they want to have it more equitable in their household with their partner, but it's actually not there yet. So then, as they're working on that, what are they going to do? So I think other people that live in your neighborhood, other people that are your social media friends, other moms or dads who are at school that you could swap responsibilities with, people at your work that you could swap responsibilities with, and then your kids are huge places where you have to look. So you can't just rely, I think, on your partner, unfortunately, in this day and age. I wish we could like wave a magic wand and make our partners do all the things we want them to do, but that just doesn't happen in my household either.
Right.
So yeah, I go through starting at age 2. Your kids are capable of contributing in your house. And not only are they capable, it actually helps them to build resilience. It helps them to have a sense of belonging. It's tied to better behavior. It's tied to, them having a stronger work ethic as they get older. So it's not just for you, it's for them as well to do it. And it doesn't have to look crazy. Like a 2-year-old could help put a pillow cover on a pillow. You're just teaching them to be involved. We just got cats and little kittens. And my kids are both responsible now for feeding them every morning and every night and making sure their litter boxes are clean. Like this is part of their responsibility because they wanted the cats. So stuff like that can be super helpful.
I love that. I think my sons, they unload the dishwasher, and I think something we talk about also is like, um even if they don't do it right, we have to let them do it. I mean,
Yeah.
why like your books, we have to stop like taking it all on and like making sure it has to be done our way. I think that also sort of like hinders our kids and our spouse from maybe getting involved. And believe me, I'm not blaming
Yeah.
moms at all, but I think in my own house that really is the thing. But I also want to talk, because I talk a lot about boundaries too. I wrote about it in my own book, and
Yeah.
you have a whole section of your book dedicated to boundaries, and this is so important. I do think it's like become this kind of like buzzword now. Like people talk about boundaries, but how do you approach boundaries in your own family?
Yeah. So, of course, there's all kinds of boundaries. There's time boundaries, there's money boundaries, there's, physical touch boundaries, all of which are very important. The boundary I'm the most interested in, and I feel like is the most relevant to moms, is the self boundary. The self boundary is about how often you're taking the temperature of other people, what they think about you, what they need, how they're regarding you, versus how are you taking your own internal temperature. How do I feel? What do I need? Am I getting my needs met? Am I having a good time? Am I not having a good time at all? Am I in like the red zone emotionally? Am I in the green zone? Right. And a lot of moms, I think, don't think about that at all as a boundary. But the reality is, when you're constantly giving more of yourself to everybody else, it makes it so you are more resentful. It makes it so that you have more body signs. So, like physically science based signs that you are going to hurt yourself. You are more anxious. You might be more depressed. You might have more trouble sleeping. You might have more headaches. Um, One of the things that's on the list of if you have a poor self boundary, one of the examples is like maybe you have a hard time choosing what you want on the menu at a restaurant. I know that was totally me as an early mom. Like I could make decisions left, right, and center for my kids. But when it came to me making decisions for myself, what do I actually want? I had no idea. So um, I'm a huge believer in if you don't have a strong self boundary, it will kind of catch up to you at some point. It's going to come out somewhere. It's going to affect your relationships. You're going to snap at your kids. You're going to resentful at your husband or your partner. Um, you know, and so it's one of those things that even though it feels like it might be kind of selfish to attend more to your own needs, it actually ends up helping you and everybody else that you're in relationship with.
And I feel like we have to hear that 150 million times a day, right? Like I've said it, I've heard you say it. We, be like the whole cliche of self-care not being selfish, and it goes so beyond that. But Dr. Whitney, okay, the final question. You and I have a shared mission. I believe that my mission, I was put on this earth to help moms, to help them feel less alone on their journey of motherhood, wherever they're at, whether they're trying to conceive, whether they're empty nesters. That really is my mission. I know that you have a shared mission in a similar way. And what I really, really, want to like, where are we at right now, like at the state of motherhood? I know we kind of touched on that in the beginning about, feeling like we're over functioning and burnt out, but from your perspective right now, like what does the state of motherhood look like? And also what would you like to see it look like? Maybe not now. I know you
Yeah.
talk about like maybe as the next generation will have that sort of fair play dynamic, but like in where is it going?
Yeah, I think the biggest word that defines our generation of moms is loneliness. Loneliness physically, we're all living our separate little apartments or houses, on our own little devices, doing our own little thing. Lonely in terms of the way that we're bringing up our kids, feeling like there are all of these different messages coming at us and that there's different camps. Like there's the gentle parent people, and then there's the parent people that are the non-gentle parent people. Like everything is so kind of dichotomous. So you feel lonely, I think, in that. And like you can't really talk freely to people because you don't know where they stand. It's like it's become very political with motherhood. And then I think also lonely in this feeling of like, maybe it's all my fault. Maybe there's something wrong with me. And so I don't want to let other people know how much I'm struggling. I don't want to let other people know how much I hate this sometimes. But I think one of the things that I really hope, and that is my mission, is that people will be seen by this book, that they will feel like, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not the only person who struggles with this. And then for the next part of your question, that they will have hope, that they will feel like, yes, a lot of the things that we work on at large, advocacy for better policies within the corporations we're working in, more equity within our households, all of the like child tax credits, all those things that we're trying to work on, that as we're working on those things that we feel like are out of our control, and really to a large degree are, I mean, they're not fully in our control, but there are a ton of things that are in our control, that we can control the way that we structure our time, our energy, our focus, that we can be in charge of the way that we take care of ourselves in deep, meaningful ways, and that we can be in charge of where we actually invest the majority of our energy. And I mean like our energy, physical energy, but also our emotional energy. I think that is a huge thing for moms, is for them to be able to say like, oh, I don't care about that. I'm not going to waste my time on that. Or I don't care about that, so I'm going to half-ass it. Or I don't care about that, so it's going to get done this time, but next time I'm going to say no to it. So that is a huge thing for me. And I think that is the best way to build a better self boundary, is just practice over and over and over again, kind of saying, what do I need right now? What are the things that are really stressful for me? How am I going to make it so that I can kind of turn this around and take a little more ownership of these tiny, small, micro pieces of my life?
I love it. Okay, Doing It All is available everywhere, right? Everywhere books are sold.
Yes.
And please tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you. I know you have a fantastic newsletter, like you're a community. So tell us about that, the Modern Mommy Doc
Yep.
community.
So my website is called modernmommydoc.com. com, and that's where I am on Instagram as well. Instagram is where you'll find me like dancing around to rap music and like being funny, trying to have funny memes of Ryan Gosling, that type of thing. And then on LinkedIn is where I put my more academic pieces and thought leadership things. So I try to do a little bit of both because I think as moms, we're all kind of different parts of us, right? And then yes, the book is sold wherever books are sold. Amazon is probably the easiest. They have the audiobook version, the ebook, and also the paperback version.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything you do, just for being such an open book. It's so needed and appreciated. So I really do appreciate you.
Absolutely. Great to be here.